On your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective, in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice in control.
Yeah, trying to find the right path sometimes is a struggle. A jigsaw in the dark, missing pieces, unknown puzzle. Blurry fuzzy pictures as the mind becomes clear. Fairy tale of a wolf, a boy crying, a near fear. Scribbling numbers, writing notes, a clue that you find. The hope being one day sharing them with the hive mind. Swapping and dropping the blue and swallowing the red pill. NPCs all around, distorted reality is how you still feel. Should you risk going alone down that rabbit hole, or ask the hive mind, see what else your big brother stole? Collective consciousness helps uncover any clue. Powerful ideas shared amongst the whole crew. And the best thing about it, transaction cost is free. Plop just a drop of water, more splash in a tsunami.
Your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective, in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice in control.
That single ripple echoes, a signal in the sea. Unlocking every deadbolt, we forge a master key. They built the maze to break us, to keep us all apart. But every node connected is a brand new place to start. So dump your data stream here, your theories and your doubt. Let the pattern sniffers work, the hidden logic out. From a million different angles, we analyze the code. Lighten up the burden and we share the heavy load. The picture gets clearer, the static starts to fade. A brand new foundation by the collective has been laid.
On your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective, in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice in control.
The picture gets clearer, the static starts to fade. A brand new foundation by the collective has been laid. So let them call you crazy with your tinfoil hat. It's a necessary filter for the mindless chit-chat. They broadcast their agenda, selling lie after lie, while drawing strange new patterns in a crisscross sky. But that hat ain't for hiding, it's an antenna now you see. Tuned into the frequency of the minds that wanna be free. The frantic search for answers you once did all alone is now a data packet uploaded from your phone. So polish up your helmet, there's no need to ever doubt. We're the ones who see the signal when the rest have tuned it out.
On your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective, in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice in control.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective, in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder.
Oops, hang on. 1 second, Hive. What is going on, Hive? Sorry about that. I clicked the wrong button and the screen was not presenting. So I apologize for that. I hope everybody's having a great Thursday. It is July 17th. Sammy T. Mafia is usually my guest on Thursdays. Unfortunately, where she lives is getting destroyed by high winds and a storm. So her internet is out. So she will not be joining me this evening. And so I had to kind of come up with a topic for tonight. And as you all know, if you've been tuning into the Hive, usually this picture right here in the center is what describes it. So the gag order is quote unquote gone, and now it's time to see what really happened. So that's what we're going to be diving into tonight. I see Brooke is in the Hive. Crime Spy, good to see you. Les, Bobby, Octavia, I'm glad that you're able to catch a live as well. Denise, Mrs. Birdie is doing well. Thank you all for the thoughts and prayers. She had to have a surgery yesterday, so everything went as good as it could have gone. She's perfectly fine. She's just resting up, and she will be back on her feet in no time. I think she's actually going to be in the Hive tonight, so I don't know if Mrs. Birdie's in the chat yet, but I got her laptop right before I decided to go live, so she could tune in if she wanted to. What's going on, Jeremy and Christina? What's up, Toonie and the 509 fam? What's going on, Aaron? Hi, Sherry. Catch you on the flip side. It's always an awesome username to see in here. There she is. Mrs. Birdie's in the house. Mrs. Birdie's in the Hive. Yep. Doms, that's exactly right. How are you doing, Karen? It is great news about Mrs. Berdino. The Berdino is sticking. It's pretty funny how random nicknames can start like that. And usually it's always the most random nicknames that end up sticking with you the longest. Those are the best nicknames, though. The best nicknames, and I'm not saying this about Berdino, but the best nicknames, the all-time nicknames, are the ones that you yourself kind of don't like, but they're too accurate, and you're probably going to be stuck with it, at least around certain groups of friends. So, all right, couple of things quick. Last night, I went on to Truth and Transparency's channel with Lana, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. If you guys didn't have a chance to check it out, it wasn't cross-streamed. It was just on her show. So she sent me the link, and I joined her link. And she was going over her top 25 things from James Patterson's new book. And shout out to Dawn for being kind enough to buy me a copy and send it to my P.O. box. That's awesome. And thank you, Dawn. You rock for that. Because I'm going to read that book, and I'm going to make my version of the notes on it and do some of the theories and how what the book says maybe would line up to that. But I wanted to share one aspect of that book that Truth and Transparency talked about that really blew my mind. And hang on, I just saw this comment. She needs a Hulk jersey. I will say she went on one of the all-time rants that I've at least ever been on stream with when it came to kind of investigating and people's info and getting to the truth. So that was awesome. But to go back to the one point that she had made, that the book, and without having read it, but also being able to assume that I could guess the gist of what that book is trying to do as far as narrative shaping. She was talking about how everybody was curious why Dylan would invite Kaylee as her +1 to this formal. And I tend to agree with this theory that they were trolling the sorority, that they had no plans on going to that formal. And it was kind of just like, Mean Girls Club, girls trolling girls. They were drinking since noon that day, and I believe you have to go to those formal sober. I don't think you can really like party beforehand and then go to it. So they were posting on Instagram, making it seem like they were going to crash this party. Now, the reason why I say that really seems to strike true is because in my head, I can wrap my head around that. That to me makes more sense given the fact that the other girls weren't in the sorority. DM and BF still were. That makes more sense than DM driving all the way out there already premeditated on being in on the unaliving. It doesn't change the fact how sketchy the 8-hour delay is. It doesn't change the fact that her PCA changes a shit ton. It doesn't change any of that. But it does, in my head, make a lot more sense than the majority of the things that we've talked about as far as like, why would DM invite Kaylee as her +1? So that's one thing that I was really like, okay, that at least we could cross that off, or at least I can. At least I'm like, there was always something missing about that, and in my head, that kind of closes that off. It also makes sense how it was like maybe the parents actually thought she was going to be the +1. Maybe she really did also want to show that Range Rover off, but the motive behind them doing that was to troll the sororities. So yeah, I just think I agree, Karen. It just makes much more sense. Much more sense. So how many people had a chance to tune into the hearing today? It was pretty quick. It was pretty short. Just kind of see what some of the people in the Hive are saying. Yeah, I wasn't able to tune in live, but and I see Phoenix must have streamed it. So I made a handful of predictions on what I think's going to transpire at sentencing and shortly after sentencing. So that's what we're going to get into tonight. Man, it's so frustrating that we have to continue to wait for this evidence. It's frustrating to know that it's probably going to be released in batches, and it's frustrating to know that our hopes of just getting everything as is probably won't happen. But like I said, I have some predictions that are all over kind of the realm of possibilities of what could happen. And we're going to be getting into that tonight. Reminder, the Hive Mind Roundtable, I'm going to stop taking admissions on, what would the 20th be? Sunday. So Sunday will be the last day to apply to be on the Hive Mind Roundtable. So all you have to do is send me an email at birdiebombshell00@gmail.com. Put roundtable in the subject line, a couple sentences on why or what you would discuss. And then also, please join the Discord. That link is in my YouTube bio. Scroll down, click join the Hive Mind HQ. And Mrs. Birdie just texted me. Oh, man, that's funny. Oh, Hive, I'm cooked. I'm cooked, Hive. Mrs. Birdie just said July 27th is our 1-year wedding anniversary. Just an FYI. Fuck. Not that I forgot it, but I can't believe that didn't just jump right into my head. Damn. Oh, man. Sorry, babe. I think, well, let me chat with Mrs. Birdie off stream and figure out what I'm going to do. If I have to bump that back a week, that's fine. Not the anniversary dinner. The Hive Mind Roundtable, I would bump back. Everybody. So let me get that organized. So, but still, either way, send me an email if you want to be a part of it. That's what I'm getting at. So make sure that you guys put it in the subject line roundtable. That's how I search for it in my inbox. And then with the Discord, if you join it on your phone, just make sure you have the Discord app downloaded. Like I said, sorry that I have not been popping into the Discord after the streams. To be honest, I haven't really checked much of my texts, my emails, the Discord, any of it. I've just been hanging out with Mrs. Birdie and my mother-in-law as she recovers. So tonight I will be in the Discord post stream though. Now, all right, this meme actually made me audibly laugh out loud. If you guys have ever seen Squid Games in this meme, you can apply so many things to it. So this one says, when your Tinder date says she likes quiet guys with a mysterious past, but you're a criminology PhD with no digital alibi and a white Elantra. I don't know why I find these memes about the case so funny, but I don't know if it's just because like this meme always makes me laugh. Anyways, I thought that was hilarious, and that would be pretty funny if your Tinder date said that, and then you just so happen to be a criminology PhD and drive a white Elantra, and she's familiar with the Idaho 4 case. It'd be a conversation starter. I wonder if there's no, I'm not going to say it. Well, it's like, what could you even say in that situation to like make it seem like there's really no smooth way to talk yourself out of that if you're a criminology major or PhD and you drive a white Elantra and the person you're on a date with calls that out being like Brian Koberger. Like, I don't know if you could say anything smooth that Brian Koberger. Yeah, I don't know what you could say to make that turn into like something that's not like, oh shit. Well, that's true. All right. So this is a Hive Mind find. This is super interesting. If you've tuned in for the last few streams, Phoenix has hit on this pretty hard with when you search Brian Koberger's name, whether it's the public case record, the jail, on the I forget the word, I forget the name of the site that she was saying, but it says no results found for Koberger. Now, I'm going to read what this message says. So this person sent me this just a couple hours before the stream. It says, "Hi, Birdie. I wanted to first thank you for your content as I really enjoy listening. I know you've touched on the possibility of Koberger being in witness protection multiple times. I, too, am wondering the same. I live in Idaho, and I've been a paralegal for almost 30 years. Nothing with this case makes any sense. This morning, while watching a recap of the gag order hearing, I noticed that Hippler mentioned Koberger present, and at the bottom of the Zoom window for Koberger, it says Ada County Jail. But when you go to the Ada County Jail website and look up Koberger's name on the inmate search, it comes back as, quote unquote, no record found. I have attached a screenshot for you to review. You can go to Ada County Jail website and verify this information yourself. It's very strange. I've looked several times over the last couple of weeks, and he is not listed as an inmate anywhere on the state of Idaho Department of Corrections or Ada/Latah County jails. Let me know your thoughts, and thanks again for your content." So, and then here's the screenshot of the Ada County inmate search. You can see here it says Ada County Jail. What is very interesting is, because where my head went first was, well, maybe they don't want people looking it up like where he is. But then I started thinking, I'm like, does having his name not in the inmate search really prevent that when they have it labeled on these public hearings? No, it doesn't. So this was one of those moments where I thought it would be interesting to look into why would that be. And let me just pull this screen up here quick. Where is it? All right. So why would Brian Koberger tune in from his jail cell for a hearing? The screen that he is on says Ada County Jail, yet when you search the inmates at Ada County Jail or any, what did that say? Or any jail in the Ada/Latah County of Corrections, there are no results. Do not use past history. Just tell me the legal reasons or shielding the truth reasons why this may be. Let's see what this says, because I'm curious. Security, transfer protocol, administrative hold, federal custody interface, selected status / judicial gag order. Oh. Wasn't that interesting? For shielding the truth, it says witness protection type, psychological operation, body double. Well, that's right on brand with what we were talking about the other day and how Phoenix had gotten a screenshot of Brian Koberger when she tried to call him, and it looks nothing like the guy. So the bottom line, it says, is there's no legitimate reason for Brian Koberger to appear from a different county jail with no public record unless there's something being hidden, whether it's a security detail, an intelligence op, or a full-blown psychological info operation. The inconsistency is not a coincidence. It says it's covert shielding. So I'm really not that surprised that it said something like that, because my mind, you know, we looked through so many lenses. We looked through, like I said, we looked through ritual. We looked through shit. At one point, I was like, maybe it was like a completely different alternate perpetrator with like a welding shop. I looked through just about every angle you could look through in this case as to what would make sense. Witness protection or PSYOP, check damn near every box from legal proceedings that have occurred. If you guys have been tuning in for a while, you know that I have downloaded the entire court case summary and I've put that into multiple AIs, and I asked it to use pattern recognition. What would a case that looks like this typically mean? Is it a standard homicide? Not one AI said that it's a standard homicide. In fact, they've all said this is a witness protection thing. And it's Brian Koberger that's being protected, which is just, it's mind-blowing, but it makes sense. They've been keeping everything hidden to protect him. If he really is a fall guy, that would make sense. And it's hard for people to wrap their head around that. And I think the reason why it's hard for people to wrap their head around that is because the narrative has such a strong hold on our like subconscious, out of our way to think due to habits our entire lives. It's so hard to not believe what you hear on TV, even though we all openly know that those people know as much as we know, which is nothing official. For everybody saying like, oh, you don't know the facts of the case. Well, it's like, fine. You know, we could talk about dates. We could talk about types of documents. We could talk about who's the prosecutor. You know, then you got Hurwitz, and then you got Ann Taylor. We could talk about victims' names, the address, people who work at the school. Yeah, okay, fine. I guess you could consider those facts of the case. But none of us know the motive. None of us know where the murder weapon is. Shit. We've all been talking about a sheath for a K-bar. The K-bar is missing. And just because there's trace DNA on the sheath, we've all just assumed that's a murder weapon. I want to know, has anybody even asked the victims, is that your sheath? Or any of their friends? Did you leave a knife over here? We all know that there's a lot of hunting, and it's not unusual to have K-bars. We've seen pictures of roommates that have been put online about them having giant machete-looking things for playing, Fruit Ninja or whatever they said it was. So that's what's so hard for me to wrap my head around when I see things like Dateline, Amazon, hearing what Truth and Transparency was saying about James Patterson's book is like, while yes, you could say there's over 300 and something people interviewed in that book. And while yes, Amazon interviewed all these people and you hear their testimonies or not their testimonies, you hear all their answers to the questions. It's all emotional heartstrings. It's all the same consolidated narrative. And it's just odd to me that we still can't just get the truth about it. It's also odd to me that so many people believe it. And then they say, well, you don't know the facts of the case because I'm not repeating what the news says. Because the news says that that's a fact of the case, then it must be a fact of the case. So I hope that makes sense. And that's why I think when you bring up witness protection, and it's like, how is that so far out of the realm? But a guy who's just serial killer obsessed moves across the country and for his first homicide ever, kills 4 people with a K-bar and gets out, and it's a 3-year trial. He pleads guilty randomly right before it's set to go to trial. Everything's sealed and redacted. Like, is that really more realistic than shit? There was people that the feds had to get involved to put in WITSEC? I don't think it is. And I went on that rant right there because this video, man, shout out to Control Alt Sleuth over on TikTok, and thank you to whoever sent me this. I'm going to go ahead and play this for you guys.
Coming out regarding the death of social media influencer Emily Kaiser's son, Trig.
What the heck? One second. Oh, here it is.
This is part 2 of the Corey Hatrock connection to the Idaho 4 unalivings. Just a reminder, she is Maddie Mogen's stepmom. In March 2023, U.S. Attorney Josh Hurwitz announced 24 federal indictments against a rug ring tied to the Aryan Knights prison gang. This came just 1 year after Idaho's governor launched Operation Esto Perpetua, a task force aimed at dismantling rug pipelines throughout Idaho. Corey Hatrock was arrested just 2 weeks after that launch, right in the epicenter. Kootenai County, her felony charge dropped, her probation violations overlooked, her sentence terminated early. It looks a lot like someone flipped, and if she did, she may have had information that reached far beyond her own case. So to get that kind of deal during the biggest rug crackdown in state history, she would have had to give up something big. If Corey gave up names, distribution routes, or even stash houses, possibly connected to the Aryan Knights, word may have got out that Corey flipped, and the gang may have retaliated. And Maddie might have paid the price, not for what she did, but for who she was related to. Again, Corey was sentenced on November 7th, and Maddie was unalived 6 days later and was said to be the target of the Idaho 4. If the Aryan Knights thought Corey ratted, was Maddie the message? And who was the attorney on this case? Ann Taylor, who also represented Kara Krenodal, the mother of Xander Krenodal, another Idaho 4 victim. Follow for part 3.
Well, I think that's pretty well laid out. Doesn't that make sense? Hive, type of 1 if you think that how can I phrase the question? Does it make more sense that Maddie was the target because of that? Or so type of 1 for that, or does it make more sense if Maddie was the target because she's beautiful and Brian couldn't get with her? Type of 2 for that. What's up, Phoenix?
Hey, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Fantastic. So, I've got some sources that I've been talking to for a while that were not under the gag order. That video is partially accurate. Kara and Corey did get busted at the Coeur d'Alene airport with, let's just say, a lot of F on them. And the police took one way, took one the other way to the jail. And someone had to have given up some information. But Ann Taylor did not represent one of these individuals because there may have been a conflict of interest per the court records that are public. She actually had a male public defender.
I'm going to probably say an unpopular opinion about the court documents, okay?
Uh-huh.
And that is, I don't think that it's a stretch to think that some of the court documents are not entirely accurate with the way that they're labeled.
Well, you would be right. And that's why I was looking for sources that could confirm the documents were accurate. That's what I was after. And what I learned from that, this document for Corey is accurate. Because one of the things that I saw, and it's very common with seeing a court record like this, it means that they could possibly be an informant. And with her getting caught with that much and not having to do any time was quite amazing. Now, keep in mind, this is Maddie Mogan's stepmom, Corey.
Yes. Yep. And real quick, thank you to everybody who sent the super chat, either as the intro of the stream was going or just recently. I saw Dom said, "Go Brewers." I agree. And
yeah, look at those digital dollars. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you to everybody in the Hive. If you guys are just tuning into the Hive and you're new, I go live every weeknight at 7 p.m. Central. I have various guests on throughout the week. Phoenix, I'm excited. Remind me at the end of the stream to tell you what I got in the works. I can say a little bit about it, not too much. But going back to your point, I've always felt with this case that people want to say the simplest answer is the answer, right? Okay, well, what's the simplest answer? The simplest answer is that if somebody's stepmom ratted on the Aryan Knights and got people put in prison, they would retaliate and go after somebody they could get to very easily and send a message.
Yep.
The simple answer of doing mental gymnastics around a motive because he was a criminology major and maybe obsessed with serial killers and maybe did some Reddit survey that, by the way, had to get approved through his effing university. They were aware of it. They made that look entirely weird. There was no essay. Bill Thompson made that clear.
Can't prove he was there or not.
So how is that a conspiracy?
It's not. It's a distraction so they don't ruin the whole operation.
Well, I want this operation to be over, Phoenix, because I want to know the truth. Yeah.
They're done. And you want to know what happened on July 2nd? the sentencing for these individuals just happened to be the same day as Koberger's plea deal.
Yep. I saw that.
And you know what I find odd is on December 9th is when they had that big shakedown in that area and took out the pipeline. And that pipeline from December 9th was transferred to Arizona. And not shortly after, in March of 2024, 2023, they took down the pipeline in Arizona.
And Janet just said that BK does
Yes,
show up in Ada County Jail.
he does. Do a live search. Go
right.
to Ada County Sheriff's Office, inmate roster. He's there. I just sent you a screenshot too.
That's interesting because that email that I got sent was from 3 hours ago.
Yeah, I just sent you one. You just have to search Koberger, his whole last name.
Yeah, I got
Koberger.
nothing. No.
Search Koberger only.
Oh, just his last name.
Uh-huh. Just his last
Oh.
name.
Well, that makes sense. I bet that
Yep.
that person did exactly what I did.
Uh-huh.
Well, there he is.
He's there. And would you be at all shocked if I told you he's not even sure why he's there?
No, I know that we were saying that some stuff about, you know, maybe Brian's been convinced that he actually did this crime, and it's like sick that they maybe have mentally messed with him, and it's just I think that all of it's a stretch, other than the fact that maybe he's literally just playing a role.
You know, I thought about that too, but why would a certified licensed bar attorney in the state of Idaho get up and tell a court that she believes her client is innocent and it is up to her to do everything she can? She would not do anything to harm him.
Do you want to know? Because I've thought about that too. Maybe because they needed to extend this trial for as long as the other trials that were going on side by side that just so simply had to end. So if you think about it, if you look at it through the light of like a show trial, how do they both perfectly time up? How do the Amazon, the Dateline, the books, how does that all line up? How are there leaked texts that are talking about this 2 years ago? How have we still not seen anything I just don't get it.
You don't let a good crime just go away. You got to milk it. Like they said in the media, if it doesn't lead if it doesn't bleed, right? It's a terrible saying, but it's true. They're going to milk any type of tragedy for what they can.
I agree. And my prediction, assuming, I think what we're going to start to see now in the media, and I tried to put this out there just so that people know what to look for, but they're going to have these, you know, strategic leaks, that, even though they're not going to be, you know, leaks, but it's going to be disguised as like new reporting. Okay. You're going to see court insiders, defense associates, retired experts, other probably prosecutors. You're going to see all this stuff spun. There's going to be a lot of different takes on it. But when you watch the mainstream media, it'll be very obvious right away with the first big news organization that goes live with a story about new evidence or unsealing of whatever document. I'm telling you, whatever they put out first will solidify the narrative. So that first document is going to tell us a lot. And do you guys think that they're going to just backtrack on the loner incel killing them because they're beautiful narrative, that he's creepy, that he has no friends? Do you think they're going to ever give that up? They could probably find evidence that is a written, typed out email from the judge that says, Brian didn't do this. This is a giant federal operation. And they'd stick their head in the sand and they'd say, no, we can't do it.
Right. Because then they would look dumb. Right.
It's
easier.
Sorry, go ahead.
It would look unprofessional.
It'd look unprofessional. And there's human nature to that.
Yes. Psychological.
It's psychologically easier to continue to go along with getting played than it is to mentally accept you got played. You can
Correct.
keep going along with the con much easier than it is to say, wow, we were hoodwinked. And if anybody thinks that the mainstream media would ever, how often do you even see the mainstream media make a retraction? Where they put in the little font, right? Like they don't like to do that. So this is my prediction. That narrative that we've heard, as frustrating as it's going to be for people like us who like to contrarily think, just the right amount of tinfoil, that narrative that we've been hearing, it's not going anywhere. That's my prediction. And I believe that the first unsealing of anything we haven't seen yet will confirm that that's the direction the mainstream media is going to continue to go. However, I'm going to also make a prediction that's not on screen. I believe what we're going to see in this case, I truly believe it. We're going to see a Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie-esque video of like when those other van streamers found the white van when they were driving. You know what I'm talking about? In that one park at the certain time. I think we're going to see something like that in this case. And I think it's going to create a tidal wave, because I think that the second that people who are on the fence or us get any whiff of that, I think it's going to be a tidal wave where it's like the gloves are off. We're not holding back. Nobody's scared about getting judged online anymore about, wow, the mainstream narrative's really hit home that if you're a pro burger, you're just a piece of shit. I don't think anybody cares about that anymore.
Yeah, I don't, and it's wild that you say that, because now that Judge Hippler even addressed the appeals process this morning during the hearing, people are like, what? What appeals? He said he was taking a deal with no appeals. No, baby, you still got constitutional rights. You can still appeal. And Hippler mentioned Garza v. Idaho, just like your fabulous defense attorney that came on here and was telling us all along, no, there's other options. And that's why I said, was this a legal strategy or a PR stunt?
Well, I tend to believe that it's a how can I answer this? Because that's a great question. PR strategy or a legal stunt. I hope that it makes people understand just how fragile your constitutional rights are when you have the media machine at your door.
Correct.
Right? Because I was saying last night on Truth and Transparency, I brought up how we look at the narrative a lot of time. Well, what's the public facing narrative versus what's the real narrative behind the scenes? And I talked about, while the narrative doesn't affect the facts of the case, it doesn't. It certainly affects the resources that are going to be available to somebody to defend themselves. And I use the example of Karen Reed versus Brian Koberger.
Yeah,
I said
private attorney.
And I also said this: if you were to look at the Karen Reed case on paper without her name on it, and you were to look at the Brian Koberger case on paper without his name on it, and you didn't even know that these cases existed, and you just looked at the evidence and the victim, and then who's accused, who's guilty more times?
Well, who had better facts?
I'm trying to say, though, like, Karen Reed was driving the car that the taillight was found on her boyfriend. Brian Koberger's not even at the scene within 100 meters. I'm saying
True.
little things like that, where like the narrative does matter, because in the narrative, Karen Reed is solidified as innocent. So when you're solidified as innocent, you're going to have people stick their neck out for you. You're going to have people come forward in your defense. Now, Brian Koberger, when you're solidified as a creep, stalker, loner, weirdo, bushy eyebrowed creep, and it's solidified in the narrative, nobody is going to put their neck out for you. So it does matter as far as the resources that could be available to you, which I think is terrible that it affects
gender.
it's just, but and not even necessarily gender. I think it's terrible that it affects
Well,
probably
why have
attorneys' perceptions. Am I going to take this or not?
absolutely. Well, why have no pro bono attorneys stepped up? Didn't Ann Taylor retire from the prosecution and from I don't know. I heard this. I don't know if it's true. I haven't looked into it. They said that she resigned from the prosecutor's office and started her own practice. Is that accurate? And she's on pro bono, or is she still being paid? Is she
I
still on payroll?
I thought that the payroll ended.
Well, that could be possibly true. I haven't looked into that side much. But I'm wondering if she has taken this on pro bono, she believes he is innocent. Who
Uh,
would waste their time in defending a case such as this, all the time, all the resources? And I don't think, in my humble opinion, she is incompetent.
No, I don't think that's what I don't know if it was with Sammy T or Devil's Advocates, but we were like, nobody thinks Ann Taylor is stupid, right? You
No,
could say you
the
agree with her tactics or not. Like, I think the one argument that I said against her, that again, trigger warning, this is my opinion. The thing that Ann Taylor that I personally saw in a high profile case that she lacked was like this vigor when she's talking to the judge. The like oomph behind like what she's saying. It was very slow and drawn out.
Well, I think she was showing a lot of respect, especially in the new venue, right? In Hippler's court. She was pretty much like that, but a little feisty in Judge's court. I noticed that. But I think at the end of the last few motions, especially after the filing motion to remove the death penalty due to the autism, I think she got a little defeated. But then when he shot her down with the alternative perps, I think that kind of pulled the fire that she had in her belly, and she felt defeated. That's
I
what I
don't
saw.
I don't disagree too, because one of the things that we were talking about last night, Phoenix, if you heard this part, it was like, how does the topic of a plea deal come up at this point in trial?
Well, I think two reasons. She couldn't get him the DP off the table due to autism. And then she couldn't get the alternative perpetrator theory enough evidence that the judge wanted to even get him off of these charges. So when you look at those two things, the only thing left to do is to plea down. The prosecution needs a win. I think that was Ann's way to get the death penalty off the table and then go through the appeals process. Maybe more evidence will come up. You never know. You see these things, and people do take plea deals even when they are innocent. It is so sad because I said this the other night. Once you get into the system and are charged, it is very difficult to break out of that. You are literally in jail, period. Some people, like I said, if you had money, you could hire a private attorney. Do you think that he would be walking the streets if he had a private attorney after being charged with those 4 murders? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how much money he had. What alibi, if he was going to flee, if he, all those things matter. But I think at the end of the day, if you look at it, I think it was strategy.
Yeah, I think it's a I don't know. I mean, people will disagree with me because it's like I can't I've tried so hard, Phoenix, to look at these court documents and to piece it together and the timelines, and I know that there's a lot of other people that have done that too. I'm trying to think through in my head that if Brian was set up, we're going to now talk about he was set up by the methed out DoorDash driver and her crew.
Yeah,
This case, this level of like nobody can figure out was, I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
I believe
oh,
Ann Taylor can pull a Hail Mary out of this. I
I don't.
believe they can. I know
But
we might
when?
not see eye to eye, but
When?
I think we possibly can see a Hail Mary, because when I look at this, I think, what's the next move? What's the next outcome? Is it for him to say, "No, I'm not going to take this plea deal because more evidence has come forward"? Or are they going to say, "Okay, we're going to go to sentencing and then I'm going to file for relief"? Those are the two options. I don't think enough people are talking to find out more evidence. I wish, Bertie, in this community, I don't know how many people are watching right now, but I wish people in the professional realm of forensics, of, lawyers, defense attorneys, smart individuals, CSI, I wish there were more people that would step up and say, "I want to help. I want to know, is he guilty or not? Let's put in the hard work. Let's volunteer and let's figure this out," because obviously this guy doesn't have the funding to hire a private attorney, but we could get all these other things to show if he's innocent or not.
I don't disagree. I just wonder if I seriously just wonder, Phoenix, if we are, because if you think about the other case that's going on that seems to time up perfectly with all this, right? With the TikTok that we just watched, with the Aryan
Hmm.
Knights and all that.
Hmm.
I still don't understand, why can't we just know that?
It's public knowledge. Did this tie in? I remember I swore up and down I would find a link. I found the link. We found the link.
I just, but yes, yes. And it's like, what I'm trying to say is like, if, don't you think that it would strike down a gang nationwide way more if it came out that somebody cooperated and put them in jail and then they put a hit on their daughter?
Yeah, I mean, that's real life what they're dealing with to take down these pipelines, these businesses. One of these guys that were
Doesn't sell
taken
though.
down, it doesn't. It doesn't sell. The incel story that murdered four women,
Yep.
or three women and one guy in a college town, in a quiet, uh, sleepy town that had no drugs, no unalivings, no crime. Can you imagine how that would affect money, funding, university, college kids? Parents wouldn't want to send them. And, something that you hit on earlier that I was reading in the book that, Lana was talking about last night, is on chapter 4, page 28. I have a mental note of it. Maddie and Kaylee were tired of the sorority becoming mean girls, right? They were disgusted and they were tired of it, so they talked about moving out. Kaylee had found a place at the Whites, I believe, and Maddie had her eyes set on 1122, and they said it would make the perfect party house, and that is the reason they all moved in there.
I agree with that. And I think that does make sense. And see, like, that's like the part of the book where I'm like, okay, that actually seems to answer a question.
Hmm.
Now, can you answer this question? And this is a shitty video
Yeah.
quality, but he doesn't look nearly as tan. And
Might be the
he's just,
lighting. Yeah.
yeah, it's just,
And that was a still photographer in the court, so he probably had a much better camera.
yeah. Well, my going back to these predictions that I was going to say, one of the other ones is that I genuinely wonder. Actually, let me ask you this. Let me ask the Hive and let me ask you this, Phoenix, rather than me just answering it. This is the question that I was thinking about. What could become unsealed? Let's say that the floodgates open with the gag order. What evidence that nobody would question by looking at the court documents could come out that would change every single person's mind that he did or did not do this?
Well, he doesn't look like a cartel hitman to me.
Right.
I'm just saying that. I
Yep.
don't think he has the agility and the skill reading all of the information they have given us in the courts that's not sealed, that I think should be sealed, which is really odd. Um, I think this was some type of operation. There are way too many ex-military. Ben Mogan is ex-military.
But what
Hunter
about the
Johnson.
evidence? What could show
Um,
you? People were saying the weapon. Okay, well, what
no,
if the weapon
because
doesn't have DNA then?
yeah, and that's what didn't make sense because there is no weapon, right? There's no
See,
solid proof.
I think somebody said it earlier. Les just kind of hit on it.
What'd she say?
She said where the sheath
Oh,
was
yeah,
found, but what the
yeah.
reason why I put this comment up is because the other one scrolled by too quick for me to click it. And it was, I would love to see the body cam footage of the
Oh,
first
yeah.
responders blur out the bodies, right? Obviously, I don't want to see that goriness, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we understand what we're looking at. We're making a decision. Like, we want to see this to see if it's true. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we're adults. We are consenting. Yes, we understand there's going to be gore in this, but let's even say that they didn't show the bodies. I want to see if that freaking sheath was there. That's what I want to see.
So the sheath was not seen, from my understanding, on the body cam from the first officer that walked in there. I want to see his body cam because Payne was the second person that walked through there and found the sheath.
And he's connected to everything and everybody.
FBI, ex-military, whole operation. And
On a
like I
second
said from the
pass, it's right
beginning,
there.
a hit would not sell.
No. And one of the things that, so I thought about this after getting done with the stream with Truth and Transparency. Like, she's very passionate about wrongful convictions. And so am I, obviously. I don't want to see anybody. I think that's just more of like a moral or a character thing for myself is if you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't be
General.
in prison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing that really, if I had to answer it, the thing that I'm really passionate about is like the constitutional overreach when people are in fear and the government exploiting it. I can't stand that shit. I can't stand that the government has to tell you.
No, government overreach is.
Yeah, that's what bothers me the most. You're not able to handle the truth. We have to keep it from you. We're going to tell you there's an ongoing investigation, or this is classified, or this is yada, 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 and all this stuff. And as a public, we just sit there and we take it. And then there's people that just cry out, govern me harder. Please tell me what I can think. Tell me what I can't think. Tell me what I can say. Tell me what I can look at. Tell me what's good. Tell me what's bad. Tell me what's scary. Tell me what's right. Tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's the truth. Nobody thinks for themselves anymore. And I can't stand it when there's an opportunity for the government to exploit people's fear, as I would say, especially the people that are just NPCs, fluoridated stares in the grocery store, mouth-breathing zombies that don't know how to think. They don't know what questions to ask, or they're too programmed to ask them. And then what ends up happening? We get bent
More
over the barrel
laws.
and shown the 50 states every time.
More laws, more stringent regulations,
And
more
less
rights
freedom.
lost. Yeah, less freedom.
I mean, somebody was calling me the other day, or I don't remember if they emailed me. I was talking to somebody about this. Apparently in California, there was drones flying around during the 4th of July that were taking images or screenshots of people who launched fireworks and then were mailing them fines. Okay. As a country, what have we gotten to where on the 4th of July, we're now using security drones to ticket people? Now you could say, well, there's a risk for the wildfires. 100%. I agree. But it's just, man, it's like I would like to think that people in their own country would be responsible enough to not light it off if they live near the woods. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, there's going to be some people with the outliers like, well, you don't know how far the embers can blow in the wind. No, I know. I'm trying to say, though, on our country's birthday, they're using surveillance drones to ticket you for celebrating it.
Yeah,
Isn't that mind blowing?
that's a catch-22. That's some
Yeah.
oxymoron. You have freedoms, but oh my goodness.
And thank you to Gretchen for the super chat. She says, they got to break some eggs to make an omelet. That's okay for some as long as they are not one of the eggs. Amen to that.
Mhm.
Very well said. Very well said. And I've used my mom as an example, being, you know, a little bit older, on when some of this stuff comes out, the truth about how the media will manipulate a story. Or, I mean, it's got to be mind boggling for you to go your entire life and think that the Vietnam War started because of the Gulf of Tonkin. And then it comes out that it's an entire lie.
Mhm.
It's got to be hard because think of all the textbooks, all of the tests in school, the studying. You're studying shit that's not real.
What about UFOs?
What about everything? What about
Oh my
everything? I
gosh.
mean, oh, by the way, did anybody see Shane Gillis's monologue of the ESPY Awards?
No.
Oh my God. He had the funniest Epstein joke. It was, so he must have been reading off a teleprompter. And I got to say, like, it's pretty incredible that Disney let Shane Gillis go and do the jokes that he did, because, you know, he was coming for everybody. But one of the funniest ones was like, he finished a joke and then he acted like it like skipped a joke, and he goes, hang on. Well, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke in here somewhere, but I guess it deleted itself.
Oh
I guess we
gosh.
should probably all just forget about it and move on as a country, huh? Like it was pretty
gosh.
funny.
No, like what I was saying about UFOs is for so long, no, they're not real, not real. And all of a sudden, oh, they're real. You know, that was a 50, 60, 70, 80-year hoax.
Well, and then they tried to change the definition of it to, like, what was it, UAP or something? Or
Yeah.
I want, what do they call it? I want disclosure. That's what I want. I want full disclosure on everything. I think it's such a weird, slippery slope when not all I want open source. You know what I mean? I don't want people to be able to hide
I
behind
think,
classification like classes. I don't like that.
yeah, but I think that we are advancing faster and faster to notice when there's a bunch of BS in media stories. And then now, because of this story, we are now looking at all the other stories if it checks the smell test, right? Because if you notice, we're catching on a lot faster. They're going to have to change their techniques.
Well, now their techniques are literally just to lie and let us accept that we know it's a lie, and they don't care that we know it's a lie. You know, so I want to get back to this gag order being lifted. Are we in agreement that we're not going to see some plot twist at the sentencing? Or when you say Hail Mary, clarify what you mean by that. Are you saying at the sentencing or when?
Well, I mean, he can always reject it. He can rescind this plea deal. If he's had typically they do sentencing within 30 days. That's the rule of law. But they did it within what, 21 days? And he's had time to think about this, right? Maybe my attorneys didn't give me the best advice. If you watch the video of the plea deal, he hesitates. And Judge Hippler, I believe, I see, him hesitate answering some questions because they're yes and no questions. And Judge Hippler tries to throw in a switcheroo question in there and catch him, and he hesitates. So I'm wondering if maybe he will say that I didn't have proper counsel. I now had time to think about this. Maybe I'm not going to take the plea deal.
I want to know if so. I was doing some research on when somebody gets sentenced, how during the sentencing phase can it like solidify and confirm there's going to be ongoing secrecy. And one of the things that it said to look for is called a quote unquote national security impact memo. Have you ever heard of that?
No, but I'm sure there's one in the file because they have talked about national security before.
Right.
And that is probably because of the fact that some of the people they were going to bring up to be witnesses are undercover, are informants, and they could not risk it. So that is why in my humble opinion, the jury trial went away, was to protect those individuals. Hippler said it today again. Most of those orders that are sealed will not be released for protection.
And what do you think about what Mama Tata just said with as far as they investigate the all perp theory, a silent arrest happens, silent trial by video evidence, proof BK gets off by a technicality and appeal, no redactions required by the media? Well, I want to know, this is a genuine question. So was the real alt perp really mentioned? That's what I want to know.
Believe probably, in my humble opinion, I
So you
believe
think,
there's 4 people in there.
okay,
Who do you think the alternative perps were?
somebody that we would never expect.
Think so?
I truly believe, well, and again, I'm not saying that I couldn't be wrong. My gut tells me that if it's anybody that was on campus, if it was anybody, I don't see how that doesn't come out. I don't see how that, again, if it's a college kid, I don't see how they could keep that hidden. I think it's going to be probably, you know, a wheelman, a hitman, a lookout, shit like that.
Let's see what the
What do you
chat says.
think?
Chat, who do you think?
Because do you really, I mean, I'm not saying this in a mean way, but like I just can't, I think that the ship has sailed for me, that it's like a disgruntled ex. I really, it's really sailed for me. I don't see again how in a straightforward quadruple homicide, if it ended up being the ex-boyfriend that killed them all, it wouldn't come out. I don't see the need for sealing and redacting and all the secrecy. A lot of people are saying frats and DM. Again, why seal and redact everything? Would that really take 3 years to look into a bunch of college guys and girls for the frats on one campus?
Enforcers. That's who I thought it was. Either enforcers, and there were other people that looked out that knew the pipeline. That was their income.
And I'm not saying that the frats and all that shit is not sus as hell on the video. You guys know I agree. I'm trying to think which is rare for me to think logically, right, Hive? No, I'm trying to just say that it has to be bigger than the campus to get a national security memo, or to have somebody mention those not named in case, national security interest, all of the sealing. It has to be bigger than the campus. That's my opinion. I'm not saying that maybe there's not somebody that knows in the frats.
The police. Okay, so if you have the police working with these college kids, these people in the general public in your community, and you are the prosecutor, and you know that you're working with the chief of police and the sheriff's department, that you arrest people and you turn them into confidential informants, you know in your jurisdiction who lives at that 1122 because of all the complaints. You know every single individual. You have searched their history, you have their licenses, you have their family's background, you know who lives in that house. Don't you think that your job would be to protect that house?
Yes, I do.
And then all of a sudden, 2 of those individuals, stepmom and mom, are arrested at the Coeur d'Alene airport. with a big amount of stash and they don't get sentenced. The cartel, the whoever catches wind that they could have probably tipped them off and they retaliate. That could be the only possible thing that makes sense. And whoever's in partnership with them out there is not going to double cross them. They are going to help eliminate the problem. And that is a big cover up. Because who was negligent? Who is at fault? This is something that could bankrupt a town, a city, a state, the federal government. Think about the liability they hold to serve and protect when they're over there dealing behind closed doors that, oh, you'll be an informant, you're given protection, you're the only place that they can get protection, well, not even there, is in jail.
I just think that if the media wanted to cause a complete cluster, they've done a great job doing it. The book is ignoring things that I don't even know what to believe anymore. I sure as hell don't believe that Brian Koberger did this crime by himself. I don't
think so.
believe, and I truly don't believe that. Again, I'm just saying, I'm trying to, I guess, solidify that. Unfortunately, murders happen all the time. This is like the only murder case that's ever had this much sealing and redaction. That's, again, the narrative that they're telling us it is.
Okay, let's just say the university knew that there was some bad rugs going around town. If you look at that police annual report that I sent you, that you searched and researched, in there, it specifies how many, oh no, as a matter of fact, it was my search. It specified how many university drug arrests there were on campus. So they knew the operations in their town, in the university. They knew. And
just
let's say
feels
they
bigger
didn't
than
do
that.
anything about it.
Well,
They didn't do
again,
anything about it.
doesn't that just seem like you'd have a shameful resignation? You'd have cops be investigated, wrist slapped, university fined.
No,
I mean,
they got to cover it up. Look at all the deaths in that area from overdose with the college campus kids. I can name 1, 2, 3, 4.
understand. It just seems like whenever that gets said, it's compartmentalizing all of these things that are so much bigger than that. It
It
just
is
seems like,
bigger.
right. But what I'm trying to say is that if it was just that, if it was just a hazing incident, if it was just bad drugs, if it was just a loner incel serial killer, it wouldn't explain everything that we've seen playing out. It wouldn't explain the fact that I've not seen one person look at the court documents and be able to piece together a theory that lines up everything.
It
Have
had
you?
to be the pipeline. There's too many things going on at once, but when you look at it from a bigger perspective and you see the connections, you're like, it makes sense. The point of the book is a distraction, just like Koberger was a distraction. I'm telling you, they couldn't let this continue because OD after OD, oh my God, Ethan's unconscious, Xana's unconscious. What the hell was that about? An unconscious person equals OD.
I agree. I do agree with that. The no mention of the blood, no mention of Kaylee or Maddie. The entire 911 calls effing weird. It's so weird, but it's like one man with a knife doesn't in any world get 100+ sealed filings. You have
That's the
federal
narrative.
level. Yeah, but I understand it's a narrative. I get it. But I'm making the same point. It's just the
They had to
subpoenas,
make us
the media
believe
blackouts.
they had to make us believe it was Koberger with a knife. Why couldn't they just say it was another OD in our town and now we have to figure out because the feds are all over here trying to take down the cartel, and they did 2 weeks after these unalivings.
How many corporations have sealed evidence in this case? Do you know?
Oh, tons, because
40,
they're
over
government
40.
contractors.
PayPal, Venmo, Discover, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Elon Financial, Idaho Central Credit Union, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, Inland Cellular, Tinder, Hinge, Yik Yak, Reddit, Discord, Snapchat, Google, Apple, Meta, meaning Facebook and Instagram, Amazon, eBay, UPS, Walmart, Cash App. Is that typical for a single defendant knife
No.
murder? It's not.
No.
It's not. And so one of the things that is interesting, Phoenix, and sorry, I'm reading an email that somebody sent me. This is crazy, actually. I just got the alert and I saw this person says they got a new job and the location is extremely suspect. I went to go get a bagel, but in order to enter, it's in that location is actually near where Lockheed Martin is. And the building is named PESOFSA, PESOFSA. And recently had to turn their Wi-Fi on at work to scan for a network. And the network name was quote unquote motive alibi. So this person does embroidery. They make all the badges for the police, military, and fire department. Worked there for almost a month now, and I'm kind of freaked out. Could I be the next Koberger? Anybody could be at this point. That's pretty crazy. That's a wild network name at Lockheed Martin.
If you're making badges and let's say an officer goes down on the line of fire during duty and you're the last fingerprint, yeah, you're going to be scrutinized.
Yeah. Cooked.
Just like the pulse oximeter.
Especially if it gets into the media, and especially maybe you're a little bit introverted and you don't have many friends, you're effed.
Cooked.
Absolutely cooked. I mean, look, pretty much I'll sum it up like this. I just don't think we're watching a murder trial is what I'm going to get at. That's the simplest way. Yeah. We're not watching a murder trial.
No. And who do you think is going to be the first to speak after this gag order was lifted?
I think the simple answer is Steve G.
He spoke the entire time, even though there was a gag order. How did he get away with that?
I want to hear, you know who I want to hear talk? I want to hear Ann Taylor do a press conference.
Oh, that would be nice, but I don't think the prosecution or her are going to speak.
No, of course they wouldn't.
Allie says a cosplay murder trial. And Hippler said today, very interesting enough, if this plays out the way we think it will, they've already have a game plan. He slipped up today, big time. TMZ already
what did
got
he slip up on? What did he slip up on?
He basically said once the appeals, time has gone by or whatever, he'll look at the documents to do whatever. But he basically, and I'm paraphrasing, he said that if it ends up happening the way that we all expect. I was like, what is he talking about?
I
just found that interesting.
That is interesting. And I want to go ahead.
The Hive is saying SG, the TMZ. Now, TMZ has reached out to a source that I've been talking to for a while that was not under the gag order. And TMZ was trying to reach out to everybody.
Yeah, TMZ will probably do it. Do you guys think it's odd too? Like, one of the things that I find so odd is that not once has anybody even floated the idea out there that they don't have the right guy. Not in a book, not in a series. I'm talking mainstream.
I don't think we're going to know who the real Herps. I think there was more than one are.
I want to know, one of the things that I've had thoughts on too for like the ceiling of it is like, was a hitman contracted through a dark web forum, hence the transactions being sealed, looking into crypto, looking
Crypto.
into that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Did somebody, and I'm not talking Koberg or the hitman. I'm just saying I'd be curious if
Okay.
somebody.
Here's my thought process through this. So Maddie Mogan's dad is ex-military.
Yep.
Okay. Maddie and Kaylee were very good friends. Steve would have to have known that Ben Mogan was ex-military. So they kind of know some people. And if this is in fact true, that Mogan's stepmom was the snitch, allegedly. I mean, they were picking up drugs in this pipeline, flying airlines, and they got caught with a lot of stuff coming in. So
Right.
if that was the snitch, then this had to have been some type of payback. And is what we're really learning now been out there? It's been out there for a while. It's nothing new. So do you think that they'll ever come out and say, yeah, this is the reason this happened? I don't think so. I think it'll get covered up. People are going to start pointing fingers, and the real people who did this will never be held accountable.
I agree. And one of the other predictions that I think too could happen with the unsealing, it's weird, but like the only thing, not the only thing, one of the main things that's been missing from like just a through and through narrative solidification is like a romantic aspect to the motive.
Yes.
I wonder if something like that might come out.
What'll sell?
That's what I'm getting at. Because if you start looking through the lens of like what the media has already, like in a way, like they've written it in stone, their narrative already. So they're not going to go with any evidence that would prove otherwise, but they could spin it to continue to solidify it. And I'm thinking like, okay, there's really not been any like romantic aspects of this. There's also been no motive. So I'm wondering if like the romanticized motive is going to be what we see. That'll be, you know what? I'll put that on my prediction list, is that we're going to see the motive be speculated as romantic. And I'm not talking he couldn't get with them because they're beautiful. I'm talking there's going to be something like unexpected that somebody decides to spin to be romantic.
So like maybe he was dating someone?
Or like there was a date, there was a Tinder, like there was something that's not creepy and weird stalkerish, but actually has some teeth to like, oh shit, like
flirtatious,
Yeah.
something in that manner.
Right.
Possible. I mean, they've been trying to say that they were connected, but the prosecutors already said they were no way connected. So we know that if they bring something out, it's going to be BS.
And I think that Sandra brings up a good point. Like, do I think
Yeah.
that Brian will talk at all?
I don't think so.
Not verbally. I could see a book or something.
Or through Anne.
Yeah, through Anne. I don't know. I mean, it just, the other thing too that is so odd is like, how does nobody in the mainstream put this as a revenge hit? It's like the only people that are saying revenge hit are like people like us. Even people that think Brian did it. Like, how is there not any? The only revenge is that because he couldn't date them.
That doesn't make sense. He was turning down girls. I don't understand. And he had other girls' phone numbers at the pool party. So unless that was a big lie, I highly doubt that. He had other dates. I mean, you got great birthing hips is kind of weird, but maybe he was ready to settle down and have a kid. Who knows?
Yeah, that is weird. That's one that was weird.
But it's awkward. But That would be, it sounds like something socially awkward autism kid would say. It's just, it's how he's socially awkward. I get it. I know what it's like. Not myself, but observing it. Because you know what? I mean, if you think about it hard enough, I'll ask my son, "Hey, do you think that girl's cute?" "Yeah, she dresses really well."
Yeah.
Not, "Oh yeah, I think she's really attractive and pretty," right? "She wears
Yeah.
good clothing. She covers herself up." I'm like, it's
Yeah.
awkward. It's not like you and I would, there's some type of innocence to it, but it's awkward.
Oh, I want to know what the truth is in this case so badly.
Yeah. Somebody else had a great question. With his eye condition, it would be very hard for him to see at night. So waiting for the lights to go out would not be his MO. It just
And
wouldn't be.
the other part too that goes back to like that overreach on the rights is like, I hate that nobody knows the truth about anything.
Okay, so if you read Anne's statement, her whole 20 something page motion that I've gone through over and over and over again, trying to understand Brian's limitation, and then the doctors, he had somebody come in, and that's another 19 pages. If you look at what they put in there, it makes sense to me that he may have no clue what was really going on, but yet they pick him up, they go all the way to Pennsylvania, they stop him twice. He's like, "What's going on? All I want to do is go to school and finish my education." He could be a lifelong student. I've seen people with ASD like this, lifelong students, right? Don't really get hired, no jobs. I mean, look at the police department turned him down. Other police departments turned him down. I'm sure he interviewed for other, and trying to figure out, why can't I get hired, right? This is my job. This is my dream. "Well, son, you're socially awkward and we're not going to trust you." That's exactly what that former chief said. "We're not going to trust you," right? I see this, and it's sad, but it's true. In the real world, he's in the academia world right now, couldn't even get along with other people. But then Washington State University, in that document with Ann Taylor, cleared him of any wrongdoing after an investigation. But yet the media's already put that out there. They can't bring that back. They can't say, "Oh, we made a mistake. There was nothing really going on at WSU. It's a big fat zero," right?
Yeah.
So it's sad. It's just really sad because, I had somebody reach out to me that is communicating with him, and it's shocking. Some of the stuff I'm learning is shocking, and I can see it though. I've seen it in my own, I've seen it in other special needs kids, adults that I've worked with. I see it, and it's just sad.
Thank you, WB, for the super chat. Phoenix, and it's so hard, like I said, without knowing the truth. Like, I want to know, like, is the visual snow true? Is
Yes.
okay, but
Yes.
nobody's
Per this doctor, you should see his CV. It's like 3 pages, in studies that he's done, and I don't know where they got this expert, but this guy is on fire. Yes, his visual snow is that bad and affects him, but here's what doesn't make sense for me. Why was he driving at night? The visual snow impairs you at nighttime. However, what overrode that was his social awkward skills. He shopped at night because no one was in the grocery stores.
what I'm also trying to get at though, Phoenix, is like this expert, I'm thinking at a 40,000 foot view that if you could pay an expert to say that and it wouldn't damage him, he's just telling the truth about, right? You can, it just is odd that like anybody that knew Koberger really only ever came out post arrest. I'm trying to say on a 40,000 foot view about like, how do we know that the core facts of this case that we've been told are core facts? How do we know that they are true? How do we know that For example, how do we know that Xana's dad had allegedly went over and switched the locks? How do we know that nobody was in that house before? How do we know that the 911 call is real? How do we know, like I said, BK has visual snow? How do we know that there's so many things where I'm trying to talk about like the antitrust that the narrative spinning has created in this country?
Absolutely, 100%. This is a perfect case to talk about that. Because that's when we lose trust in our government. We lose trust in the local law enforcement to protect and serve. We lose trust in our teachers. We lose trust in the person at the bank that's handling our finances, right? When do we say enough is enough? Why? What? What's the point of lying to us all the time?
Do we know where the Amazon knife was delivered to?
They said it was his house in Pennsylvania.
Right. I guess I see. I there's like so many little things too where I'm like, is the click history going to be made public? Like, there's just things that don't make sense. And I'm like, is this just completely crafted? And people might get triggered when I say that because they're like, no, they wouldn't put it in the court docs. They would. This is such a huge case. I'm really having a challenge tonight. I'm struggling with being able to think outside of anything other than cover up, WITSEC, PSYOP. I can't get out of that mind
Cover
frame
up.
tonight.
I would definitely say it's a cover up. WITSEC, possible. Totally possible. I can see that 100%. But who was the informant? That's what I go back on. Who was the informant?
Yes.
Was it Bethany or was it, what does it say?
No, this one. I thank you. And finish your point, Phoenix. I didn't mean to cut you off. That's such a great point.
Oh, okay. So well, I lost my train of thought, but that's okay. But this is a really good question.
It's true. Yeah. They inferred, many readers are inferring this aspect as a fact.
Mm-hmm. They said he never went there. There was no connection in the court documents. And you know what I find odd? Every time the prosecution spoke, it was always in favor that BK was not the killer. If you go and listen to Bill Thompson, I listened to 3 hearings today, once again, just to make some notes. Bill Thompson says, no, he wasn't stalking them. He went up against an expert and said, no, he wasn't the stalker. He wasn't stalking them. Then he goes up and says, no, he's not connected. He can't even put him in there in that area. The only thing was the single source DNA.
Which is just bullshit.
And this is what I was going to tell you as a mother. Trust your gut, Birdie.
Yeah.
If this is thinking, and I think it screams cover up. It screams possible WITSEC for me. And
Yeah.
but what parts of it is what we don't know.
That's what's happening in my mind right now. Like,
I see you about to crash out over
yeah,
there.
where's the Hulk jersey? Yeah, that's exactly right. It doesn't feel like we're looking at a lack of evidence, right? It feels like we're looking at like quarantined data, right?
Well, yes, everyone is telling a different story.
Yeah. Are the killers state sponsored? Are the killers known? Are they protected?
I don't know, but
Is
you
the
know what
truth too
always
big?
plays.
Is it honestly too big? Is the truth too big for all of us to handle, honestly?
Something that has always played in the back of my mind is a converged theory that has the woo woo, that's bad juju, don't talk about that, that's taboo, and that's the ritual. A cover up ritual. And WITSEC may be that parallel investigation that Steve G talks about. Because if Steve G knew there was an investigation going on, he sure let us know there's a parallel investigation going on. I wish he would just open up and speak about it. Is he live on Drunk Turkey? Does anybody know? I figured he would be the first one to go on Drunk Turkey now that he can tell him everything. That was
Yes.
Screaming Goat.
Yes. Susan has been the MVP of the PO
That's
box. and
cute.
She sent me the Screaming Goat. It's awesome.
I
Sometimes-
love it.
Yeah. Sometimes I just carry this around the house and Mrs. Birdie says she's going to throw it out off the balcony, but I love it. So
Cute.
anyways,
Trust
I want
your
to,
gut.
yeah. And I want to ask the Hive, assuming, so, because I know with this Hive, we have a bunch of people that think outside the box, question everything. You know, it's like the first rule of the Hive is you never believe the narrative type thing.
Mhm.
And my question is, let's see if we can get to the headspace right now as a collective to say that, okay, 4 people died. 4 people were killed. The reasons, all that other speculation out the door for this question. I want you to type the number of people that you think committed the killings. I'm going to type mine. Thank you, Lisa Marie.
The number of people that did the
Yep, and
killing.
Please retrieve your nearest tinfoil hat. Place hat firmly on your head. Prepare yourself.
I'm seeing a lot of. You know what I'm not seeing a lot of? I'm not seeing a lot of ones. A lot of 6s. There's a lot of people that are saying 6.
I said 2. What'd you say, Birdie?
I said 4. Johnny says 69.
Oh, wow.
3. I didn't see a single one come in. I didn't. Did you? I'll scroll back through. I did not see a single.
No, I didn't see
What?
one. A lot of 2s, a lot of 3s, a lot of 4s. 6.
For
I
the
think there were
6.
2 weapons. I
Yeah.
think there were 2 weapons.
Jeremy says 1,122.
Although there could have been 3 weapons.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
The
do
way
another poll
that I-
then. How many weapons do you think were used? I think there was just one weapon,
You think so?
but I think that it was like a not that it was custom made. I really believe that. I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna see what other people say.
I think 2 to 3. 3 max, because the way they describe the injuries, I would definitely say 3. 2 knives and a revolver. That's interesting. I think there was 2 knives and some type of hatchet.
See, I was gonna say the reason why I said 1 is I think it's like one of those, like it's longer. It's not a K-bar. Actually, I guess I don't think it was a K-bar.
Like a
Does anybody in here
machete.
think it was a K-bar? Yeah,
I don't think it was.
like on one side it has like an axe, and then on the other side it's almost got like the crowbar type looking
Tiger
thing.
claw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost like what a firefighter would carry.
kind of.
But I don't think it was a K-bar. I also have not ruled out mentally that the interview where Chrissy says her niece called her and says that they were at a party that got shot up and that Kaylee was shot should just be
Yeah.
ignored. That shouldn't be forgotten about.
No, but it could have been one of those distractions too.
But she said it. The mom of Kaylee said it.
They might have been planting a different narrative, because remember, they were on December 4th saying they were harmed in 2 different ways.
And thank you. I've been waiting for somebody to say this.
Yes.
The whole sheath, we found a sheath. Okay. We haven't found a knife. Where is the proof of stabbing? And that's a morbid question. People probably get upset maybe when they hear that. They're like, Birdie, that's so like invasive or intrusive. But is it is if you're gonna go and completely take over news cycles and use how many resources to investigate it, don't you think the prosecution would have all the evidence on display to solidify this case?
Yeah, we don't even know how they died. No autopsy,
Yes.
nothing revealed. We don't even know if this was just some sham to scam money into the funding or something. We don't know.
And
But
anybody that says that they do know, sorry to interrupt, Phoenix. Anybody that says that they do know, and they're going to be like, well, that's not what that's what just boggles my mind, where they're like, well, that's not the facts of the case. What? How do you know the facts of the case are what they're saying there? Nobody's shown you it. They've just told you it.
we're still trying to figure it out.
God, I'm starting to sweat.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out what's fact from fiction. And the scary part is that when you start reading some of these documents and you hear some of the things on the street, you're like, wait a minute, where did you get that from? Give me a source, cite that for me.
So, I just want to know. We just talked about the murder weapon, the motive. Like last night, Truth and Transparency, she was saying like, well, serial killers don't need motive. Brian's not a serial killer. He's only done this one time. You'd say, oh, he's obsessed with serial killers. And this is not towards Truth and Transparency. I'm trying to reason with that whole narrative put on about him with the fact he's a criminology major, which is to study how criminals think, and studied under the professor of a dude who worked, or the chick that worked with the serial killer.
And do you think that he would have just slid under her radar? No.
No, he wouldn't have.
No.
The other motive, because they're beautiful and he couldn't get girls. That's just, you want to talk about facts of the case. I think there's a really good argument to be made that even the lamestream media put out evidence Brian Koberger can get dates. He can text chicks. They've talked about the Asian girl that he would go hang out with, or that she was obsessed with him.
They contradict each other. Allegedly, he was with her at church that Sunday morning and they went shopping at Walmart after.
I want to know about the roommates. While, yes, the trolling, the sorority, which, okay, that gives light into another aspect of the Greek life. If they were trolling them, and do you think that pissed them off to where like a fight got out of hand? Now, again, I go there and I'm like, that still doesn't probably have national security implications if it's a fight that got out of hand. Or like, I think the other thing that Truth and Transparency was saying is that like Brian's always stole from his friends. He was stealing to get a fix. He could go to pawn shops. He could sell it off. And then it was a robbery that escalated. And I just want to be like, in my mind, the way that I interpret that, because it's good thought provoking. And like I was saying, it's not coming at anybody. I don't need to justify that to anybody. I know that I'm not. What I'm trying to say is it's thought provoking for me, because I start to think through, what does an escalation in a robbery look like? Well, if you're going in to rob somebody and they catch you, why wouldn't you just run out? What?
Something you just said just triggered something. When Bill Thompson said he didn't mean to kill all four, whoever did this went in there with a purpose. Which two were they targeting?
So, well, he said we can't prove that he meant to kill all four, but yet he confessed to premeditating with, malice intent or forethought, whatever they said. So he
throw him out of the equation. We already think there's probably 2 to 4 killers, right?
Yeah.
But the way he worded it made me think 2 were on accident.
So it kind of, to continue with this, will go hand in hand with it. If it's a robbery gone wrong and you got caught as a lone perpetrator or as a group, wouldn't you just run? Like, do you think that the girls are going to restrain an athletically built guy that's in their house with a mask? No, they're probably going to be scared shitless and he's going to run out. So I'm thinking of the time frame that it would take for him to be in there long enough to get caught, have the confrontation happen, not run, but then engage in fighting. So if that's, you know what I mean? Wouldn't it be like when you get caught robbing somebody, it wouldn't be a silent interaction. It would be like hey, what the hell are you doing? Who the hell are you? Wouldn't you yell like there's somebody in our house?
Yeah,
Not
but
just text?
a robber wouldn't use a knife. Well, no, because they
I
would
don't even think it
mostly
was a
use a
robbery.
gun.
I don't even think it was a robbery.
No, I don't think
I think
so.
it was a full-on hit. I think it was a professionally done hit. I think it was a
Unless
revenge
they were
hit.
trying to find if they had some stash and money. There was a backpack that
Like a
people talked
shakedown.
about. Yeah, like a shakedown.
I could see that too. Well, we may never know, Phoenix, what really happened. And I think that we talked about a lot of interesting things. We've looked back at a lot of theories, but the biggest takeaway that I want everybody to have from this stream is the first mainstream media document that they touch with becoming unsealed. I can almost guarantee that will set in motion the narrative that now that the gag order is lifted, it'll set that in motion and it won't sway from it. And I don't think it's going to sway very far from the narrative we're hearing now.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Just as a reminder, everybody, I accidentally scheduled the Hive Mind Roundtable on my wedding anniversary. So I'm going to say that I'm going to have a different date for this, but it'll be soon after. But still submit for it, birdieBombshell00@gmail.com. What's that?
So take her out Saturday night and midnight, then you can have your anniversary.
You trying to get me killed, Phoenix?
No, but the best of both worlds. Any good wife would compromise.
No, yeah, she would. She probably would, and maybe
It's
she will.
busier on Saturday nights.
Yeah. So who knows? I'm not officially changing this yet. We got to get our plans locked down. Join the Discord. Go to the YouTube bio. Click more. Scroll down. It's the 24/7 off-stream headquarters for the Hive. If you are new to the Hive, welcome. This is the best chat on the entire internet, and I go live every weeknight, 7 p.m. Central, around 10 a.m. on Saturdays, Sundays, 7 p.m. And if you are not subscribed, it is free. Please hit that subscribe button. And all you have to do is just go to the channel and just press subscribe. Same thing with the Discord. All my streams are going to stay free. I'm never going to charge anybody for anything. And for all of you that tuned in tonight, thank you so much. Phoenix, thank you for popping up here. Sammy T, I hope she gets her internet fixed by next week. And as always, Hive, I hope you all have a great night. I will be back on tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central. Phoenix, if you're around, I don't have any guests. Oh, you didn't remind me to talk about what I've been working on. Damn it.
Tell me what you've been working on. I was going to tell everybody before we go, make sure to hit the thumbs up, leave more DNA than Koberger left on the sheath. And as always, the Hive is amazing. You guys are so generous.
Yes, absolutely. And so I announced this last night or 2 nights ago. I've been working with somebody who's going to help put me in touch with guests that are ex-FBI, ex-undercovers. They got a story to tell. They have the expertise. They have the knowledge. My biggest motivation for starting to try and get guests like that on the stream is I've always been so interested in when you're on the inside. I want to know what is the narrative on the inside versus what is the public narrative. And I think that that's going to be a really interesting, exercise to find out what somebody who experienced that, where they know the truth, but the public completely is convinced it's something else.
That's awesome. Because I will tell you, in this case, they had no PR person in that police department. And I think that's where they went wrong.
I agree. Well, with that being said, Hive, I'm going to be in the Discord in about 15 minutes. So I will see you all there. Phoenix, you rock. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Cheers,
Good night,
everybody.
Hive.
Yep. Good night.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.